Hello, guys. We are going to learn about the basic concepts of our American democracy. So, when you read the Our Broken Constitution article by Jeffrey Toobin, most, if not all, of these concepts were mentioned in the article. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to go over the terms of those words, and this will certainly lay the foundation throughout the duration of the course. So first off, I just want to welcome you to AP US Government and Politics. I am very excited to be your teacher for this semester. So first off, we're going to learn, this is Unit 1, so we're going to focus on the foundations of American democracy. So here are some of the essential questions that we're going to focus on for this unit. The first one is, how did the founders of the U.S. Constitution attempt to protect individual liberty while also promoting public order and safety? How have theory, debate, and compromise influenced the U.S. constitutional system? And how does development and interpretation of the Constitution influence policies that impact U.S. citizens? So our first term is going to be, what is government? So government is the collection of public institutions in a nation that establish and enforce the rules by which the members of that nation must live. Now, if you don't have a well working government, that could lead to anarchy. So, anarchy is basically a situation characterized by lawlessness and discord in the political system. Now, Thomas Hobbes, a 17th century British political philosopher, wrote that without government, life would be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Now, this concept called social contract by Jean Jacques Rousseau, he actually published this piece called On the Social Contract in 1762. And basically, a social contract is an agreement people make with one another to form a government and abide by its rules and laws. In return, the government promises to protect people's rights and welfare and promote their best interests. So, our government is considered a social contract. Next is authority. So, a government's authority over its citizens refers to the ability of public institutions and the officials within them to make law independent of the power to execute them. All right, democracy is pretty much the basis of who we are as a country, and basically, it is a government in which people either directly or through elected representatives hold power and authority. Um, and just a little tidbit, the word democracy is derived from the Greek demos kratos, meaning rule by the people. Now, if you're pretty close aligned with the Russia probe, you have seen this word kind of thrown out there, oligarchy. Now, oligarchy is a form of government in which a small, exclusive class, which may or may not attempt to rule on behalf of the people as a whole, holds supreme power. So, this could take any form, like a business could be an oligarch if they wanted to be. So, it could take any form so long as it is a small, exclusive class. Usually, these people are very, very rich. So, with a lot of money comes a lot of power. The next type of government is theocracy. Now, in a theocracy, a particular religion or faith plays a dominant role in the government. A good modern example is Iran, is an example of a theocratic government. This is basically where religion and politics kind of cross roads in a theocracy. However, this can be, obviously a little bit different and foreign to us because we have this concept of separating church and state. The next form of government is monarchy. Now, monarchy is a form of government in which one person, usually a member of a royal family or a royal designate, exercises supreme authority. Now, the monarch can be a king like King Abdullah that I have pictured here on the left, or a queen like Queen Elizabeth II of Great, which I have put here on the right. Now, even though the UK has a queen, the true power rests in the parliament, whose representatives are elected by the people. So we have this little mixture of, monarchy and a democracy, a representative democracy. So that's really kind of cool to see how two forms of government kind of mesh together and work well. The next form of government is authoritarian. Now, many of the nations in the world today have an authoritarian form of government in which one political party, group, or person maintains such complete control over the nation that it may refuse to recognize and may even suppress all other political parties and interests. So you can see this especially in Middle Eastern countries where it's very authoritarian, and we can see the evolution of authoritarian type governments, with Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin. You see these authoritarian regimes taking over countries and people in authoritarian government. Now there has been a new book that just came out this year, and the book is called How Democracies Die, and it's by Levitsky and Ziblatt. And they basically outline some of the behavioral signs of an authoritarian government, and they are one, rejected in words or action the democratic rules of the game. Two, deny the legitimacy of opponents. Three, tolerated or encourages violence. Or four, indicated a willingness to curtail the civil liberties of opponents, including the media. So sometimes you can even find even current um, examples of this type of um, these characteristics of an authoritarian government. So if you can think of some people, that'd be great. You can certainly kind of let me know, or even just kind of write them down and keep them in mind as you get through the course. Get through the course of what the implications of having an authoritarian government. The next term is power. Now, power is the capacity to get individuals to do something that they may not do otherwise. So, like paying taxes, stop for red lights, or submit to a search before boarding an airplane. So, most people would not submit to pay taxes. They would much prefer to have money in their pocket, but so you have to pay taxes in order to keep government running and doing other things to keep the government going. And unfortunately, without power, it will be very difficult for a government to enforce rules. So if the government doesn't have any power, then they're not going to be able to do very much of anything, which could actually lead to our previous term, anarchy. Now, legitimacy is the sustained power of any government largely rests on its legitimacy. Now, legitimacy is the extent to which people or the government afford the government the authority or right to exercise power. Now, when the governed grants a high level of legitimacy to their government's level of legitimacy. When the government grants a high level of legitimacy to their government, the government wields its power to make and enforce rules more successfully. What is politics? Politics is defined as a way the institutions of government are organized to make laws, rules, and policies, and how those institutions are influenced. So, for example, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, so their politics will be helping the environment, sustained environment, alternative energy. So, though that's their politics. The NRA, National Rifle Association, their politics is pro Second Amendment right to bear arms. So they're going to push their politics um, in the institutions of government. So certainly keep that in mind. Now, Harold Laswell's definition of politics, he's a very famous political scientist, and he did write a book called Politics, and he defined it as who gets what, when, and how. So we're going to kind of break down what he meant by the what, when, and how. And basically, the who includes actors within and outside the formal government, such as citizens, elected officials, interest groups, and state and local governments. The what are the decisions the government makes or take the form of what the government funds, the way it raises revenue, and the policy it produces and enforces. The when is related to setting priorities about what government does. And lastly, the how refers to the way in which the government goes about its work based on the political institution that exists and the formal and informal procedures and rules that define the governing process. And natural law. Now, natural law was proposed by John Locke, where he says that people are born with certain natural rights, which derive from natural law. It's the rules of conduct inherent in the relationship among human beings, and this more fundamental than any law that a governing authority might make. So you can see natural law could be considered life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, a government maintains legitimacy as long as the governed are served well, as long as government respects the natural rights of the individual. So as long as the people believe, or we at the people are believe that our government is serving us well and the government respects the rights of the individuals, then legitimacy is good, government is running well-oiled machine, all things are dandy in a republic. Now we're on to popular sovereignty. This right here, this text that you're seeing is actually the preamble of the United States Constitution, and you can see the first three words says "We the people." This phrase, the framers acknowledge that the ultimate source of power rests with the people. This is considered the concept known as popular sovereignty. So this is, popular sovereignty at work. We the people. We are popular sovereignty. We give people power by voting, and that can also be republicanism. Now, there are two forms of democracy. There's representative democracy and direct democracy. Now, the United States Constitution provides for a form of representative democracy, under which regular elections are held to allow voters to choose those who govern on their behalf. In this case, individual citizens do not directly make policy rules, other governing decisions known as direct democracy. So, representative democracy is when you vote. We vote, that's representative democracy. We vote for our people in office. Representative democracy can also be referred to indirect or Republican form of democracy, which rests on the notion that consent of government is achieved through free, open, and regular elections of those who are given responsibility of governing. So, I just want to make sure that as far as Republican form of democracy, please, I just want to kind of bear in mind, do not get Republican democracy mixed with the Republican Party. Those are two totally different things. Republican Party is a political ideology, while Republican democracy, it is more of a political practice. Alright, so the next one is political culture. Now, political culture refers to the core values about the role of government and its operations and institutions that are widely held among citizens in society. So, all of us have a different type of political culture. I have a different political culture. You may have a different political culture. It's different for each household or each individual. We might have different culture in how we view on abortion or gun rights and things of that nature. So, environmental issues. So, those are some of the things define or shape a political culture. So, just keep in mind that every nation has a political culture, and it certainly defines the essence of how a society thinks politically. All right, so our next term is limited government. So, a limited government is a value that promotes the idea that government power should be as restricted as possible. Now, Thomas Jefferson supported this idea by saying the government that governs least governs best. So basically, a limited government it is it must be restricted as possible. So how do we? What's a good example of how to restrict the power of the government? Oh, we just write a constitution, and that's what we have done. Although, as we go through the Constitution, you'll see the list of powers that each branch of the government has. However, they are limited by what they can and cannot do. And no branch is more powerful than the other, contrary to popular belief. Now, I do want to let you know that since the days of the American Revolution, the colonists believed that the corruptive power of King George III and the British Parliament led to unfair treatment of the colonies. And our last term is individualism. Now, individualism is the value that Americans who subscribe to the notion that individuals are primarily responsible for their lot in life. So we all are individuals, and we subscribe to the notion that, we are individuals, we live our life the way we want to, and we don't dictate how others live theirs. So, this concludes our first lecture in this course. So, the next lecture, we're going to talk about the United States founding documents, so Articles of Confederation, Declaration of Independence, and United States Constitution. I hope I can, we'll dig much deeper into those documents and how they differ and how our country was founded. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and stay tuned for next week. Bye.